Welcome to this episode of Monetizing Your Mental Capital. I am super excited. My guest here today is Korion Morris from Unibrands or Unibrands?
Unibrands.
Unibrands.
Correct.
From Unibrands. And we met at the Innovate conference in New York, and those guys put on a killer conference. We had a great time chatting at his booth. He was on the Micro podcast for a minute, so maybe a few of you have even heard from Korion before. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to continue the conversation.
Absolutely. So as we get in here and look at this, tell us a little bit about your origin. How did you get to where you are now? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, going kind of way back, I've always kind of been a dreamer, a creative. I raced BMX bicycles as a kid and grew up pretty poor. And so in order to try to, pay for parts and pay for races and different things like that, I started getting into marketing. And so reached out to a bunch of companies, tried to get sponsorships, actually put together a BMX team, and then ultimately ended up being somewhat successful in BMX racing. And so I spent middle school and the first parts of high school racing BMX kind of around the country. And one thing about BMX racing is it's a sprint. And so I spent a lot of time doing sprints up hills and different things like that on my bicycle to build my leg strength. And so my freshman year of high school, I got into track and field, set a freshman school record in the discus because of that strength I had built. And that was a transition into becoming a thrower. And the first time I really kind of got into the business world was I had learned so much trying to become a really successful thrower in high school that I learned about training kids. And so I started being paid to train like the other high school athletes and different things like that. And so that was kind of the very beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. Went on to throw the discus and shot put at the University of Arizona. Was an All-American there. Moved back up to Seattle after graduation and started my first business and have started and scaled and even sold a few businesses since then.
Man, I love that it started with BMX biking, and then you translated that, your uphill sprinting on a bike to, okay, now I'm going to do this track and field. And then not only did you translate to track and field, but you translated to throwing discus. Like, dude, those are some serious transitions of mental capital, and not just mental capital, but physical capital, and not in the terms of like inventory on a shelf, right? This is talking about physical capital in muscles, man. That is very interesting. What was it like? You went out and found sponsors, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but what was it like to have the realization, hey, I have something here that I can reapply to this other category of thing to connect those dots? Because you were just trying to become the best at you in terms of, mental capital and in terms of physical capital, right? So like body capital going up and down those hills. Where was that moment where you're like, oh man, I could use this on the track and field?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the terms that you hear a lot about in track and field is muscle memory, right? And so I'm a big believer in that, and that the repetition that comes with whether it's doing the sprints up the hills, just putting in hard work, launching new brands, it's all muscle memory. It's doing it kind of over and over and over again. And so for me, it was a matter of, I was able to get some traction in BMX racing, one, because I didn't necessarily know what I had, but I knew what I wanted, right? And I was able to accomplish what I wanted by just consistently going in and putting in the work. And so once I got some traction doing that, I said, okay, well, you take that same kind of framework or that same way of thinking and apply that to track and field. And I was incredibly fortunate in high school that it's funny, when I told my high school track and field coach, I was like, hey, after my freshman year, he's like, hey, you could be really good at this thing, but you need to put time into it. You need to work. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm a BMX racer. And at this point, I'm like, 6'1", 250 pounds. And he's like, you're not a bike racer. You're a track and field athlete. But, he came alongside me and said like, hey, these are the things you need to do. And in the same way that, I had done what I needed to do from doing kind of research on my own when I raced BMX, I did that through track and field as well. And I was, again, just super fortunate to have a tremendous coach and somebody who laid a really good pathway. And then I just followed along that.
I love that. So there's two huge takeaways there. One, a mindset and a framework, a training for your brain And I love what the muscle memory there. I think it applies to both our physical bodies in terms of like biceps, triceps. I think that there's a muscle memory that way. But if you think about it, in a lot of ways, your brain is a muscle too, right?
Indeed.
And so you've created neural pathways that make sense to use over and over again in that other instance. So for an Amazon seller or an e-commerce seller that's out there like, man, how do I get to a place where I can actually build an intangible product? Well, go try to build an intangible product, fail miserably, and then go try again and go try again and go try again. And as you fail and grow and learn and lean, you will begin to become someone who can handle that.
I couldn't agree more. I'm a big believer that there is no such thing as failure, right? Like it gets you that much closer to whatever that outcome is that you're seeking. I had a quote that I used to love in high school that the achievement of your goal is assured the moment you commit yourself to it. And I'm a big believer in that. And so you don't know how to do something. I didn't know how to become a successful BMX racer, but I got out, learned a lot. I failed at it a ton, and it took years until I started to get traction with that. And so it's that repetition. I think to your point, your brain is absolutely a muscle. I think it's the most important muscle. Like you hear physical athletes talk about this, right? Where in something like discus, that's incredibly technical, 70% of the reps that a really good discus thrower takes are mental reps, right? They're not even the physical. And so doing that, I listened to the Andy Frisella podcast, the MF CEO, and he would always talk about when he was sleeping in the back of his shop, he spent a lot of time doing visualization of the car he wanted and the lifestyle he wanted. And so I'm a huge believer in that. And I think it's absolutely true.
Love it. So when we're talking about monetizing our mental capital, one of the ways that we can monetize this mental muscle is by giving it the opportunity to try again. And going through that process of failure, it makes it so that you're comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? You're comfortable with this idea of, I don't know where money's coming from next month, but that's okay because we're going to figure out what's happening next month and we're going to push through that discomfort. Totally agree. Okay, so shifting over, the other takeaway that I got from that was find a mentor. Find someone who's done it before. So would you say that applies to those who are out there looking to, build something intangible in terms of a revenue stream as e-commerce sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think you don't know what you don't know. Right. And I think there's a few different kind of levels where mentors can provide value. One is it's demystifying whatever that thing is that you're looking to do. But I think it also kind of humanizes the journey. And I think that's, equally, if not more important, is the understanding that this mentor, despite their success, despite what they've accomplished, likely deals with some of the same kind of frustrations. They likely deal with some of the same kind of self-doubt and different things like that. And so it really kind of humanizes that. And that's where I think it just doubles down on the importance of kind of wading through the mud, right? Like when you're trying to find traction, when you're trying to create something, there's a sticking point, and your ability to monetize the capital, your mental capital, that value is created when you're going through that sticking point, right? Because everybody else quits. But when you continue to work through it, even if you're continuing to fail, you're learning more about what works or what doesn't work. You're getting closer. And I think that's where all the value is ultimately created. And I think a mentor can provide tremendous value in enabling you to, one, again, orient yourself, demystify what works, connect the dots for you. But yeah, they're incredibly important.
So we're going to shift here just a second. As you consider this journey of monetizing mental capital, you mentioned, selling in the beginning, you were selling some of those sponsorships. Is that the first time that you remember monetizing any of your mental capital? Like actually trading, mind juice for dollars?
I'm sure there's instances before that of, on the playground with kids trying to find, like just knowing something I had, like I even think back to Pokemon cards, right? And the knowledge of like, what was it, maybe Charizard when I was a kid was worth a lot, right? And so if there's somebody else who didn't know that, there's an opportunity to, kind of take advantage of the delta between the two. And so that's probably like the first instances of it is something on a playground or with family or whatever that might be. But I think the first one where it's really like, okay, I've dug into this thing. I now understand a lot of the science behind what makes you a successful athlete. I understand the mental game, and I understand that there's a lot of people who want to make it to the next level. I've done that. And so how can I help to close the gap for them? I would say that was the first kind of instance where I really leaned into it as like, hey, I could actually make some money and do something with this.
Interesting. So what was it that made you click into recognizing, wait a second, this could be monetized? How did you recognize that as an opportunity for monetization?
So, in high school, when I really started to have some success, so my junior year, I won the state title in the discus and shot put. I was the number one thrower in the country. And I had a lot of people kind of asking me questions about like, how did you go from third in state as a sophomore to first in the state and one of the first in the country as a junior? And so there's a lot of questions, and I think there's some validation in, college coaches are reaching out and different things like that. So it's like, oh, okay, there's something here. And a part of it absolutely is like natural talent and gifts and different things like that. But the other side of the equation is the work that goes into it. And I found myself teaching people. So I was at the state meet my sophomore year, and there was a guy who like had some poor technique. And so I just gave him a tip because I'm just like, hey, I'd like to see you be successful. And he threw farther. He threw a PR. And so realizing that like, oh, I know how to help these people in a meaningful way. And I also, the proof's in the pudding, right? Like I've been successful doing it, allowed me to realize like, hey, there's actually some real value here for people.
Fascinating. So I think the two places that I want to draw out of that story is, one, individuals started to notice, right? Like they noticed your success. They noticed something about that. They started asking for help, or you noticed that you could help. You started to see discrepancy and like, oh man, that other Amazon seller or that other business owner doesn't realize that they just need to read these 3 books and, it'll change everything for them. I've already been through that part of the journey, right? So you started to see a delta between your knowledge and the knowledge of those around you. And not only did you see that delta, college coaches, other individuals saw that there was a delta there as well. And so the market was essentially validating, hey, you have something that not everyone has.
Precisely.
So as you pushed into that, what did that look like to monetize it? Did you start teaching a class, or did you start coaching individuals, or what did that look like?
Yeah, I wish I could find the deck that I put together. It started off life in PowerPoint. I actually came up with a little business name and a handful of packages for just like other high school athletes. And it's like, hey, I can't recall what the number was, but like, pay $50 a month and I'll write out a training program for you, and we'll spend time like working through the actual movement. So, you've got, like Olympic lifting, which is incredibly important for building quick twitch muscle fiber and different things like that. So like, I'll actually show you how to do a lot of this stuff. And so it all started life with a deck. First time building the decks was trying to get sponsors when I raced BMX in middle school. So I had grown comfortable with that. And so it started there, and then sharing it with kids in my local high school and then kids in other high schools.
How did you share the deck? Did you like print it out at this point and like hand it to them?
This is like 2003, 2004. So
nice.
I don't know that Dropbox was much of a thing at this point. So printed out deck. I remember it was black and lime green, and I would just hand them out to people, and like I would exchange information. One place there is forums, like web forums are pretty big at that point in time. And so I would actually log onto the web forums, and like I would just make myself available to help people and chat. But if somebody was local or was looking for like a program, I would provide a program for them.
That's freaking awesome. So you continued through that journey of monetizing other things. What led you all the way to where you are now?
Sure. So graduated high school, went away to college, side hustle kind of had to be put to rest. But I was driving my freshman year, and I had a Dodge Charger, and I pulled up to a stoplight, and there's a gentleman who pulled up next to me who had a Dodge Magnum, which was like a car very similar to the Charger. And I don't know why, but like, I would not do this in this day and age, but like we pulled over and started talking. And it turns out he was from Chicago. I'm originally from Chicago as well. He's a little bit older. He played football in college, and he had started an automotive kind of customization shop called C3 Motorsports. And they were looking for somebody to come in and help with their marketing. And so I arranged an internship my freshman year, and ultimately ended up taking kind of over all of their marketing, kind of doing like community engagement, and even like the first very early kind of e-com sales that we did. And so I did that during the summers over the next 3 years. He ultimately became a really close mentor and friend of mine. But that really whet my appetite for the world of entrepreneurship. And so, essentially the business model was they owned about a dozen body shops throughout the state of Arizona. And they were introducing kind of a customization arm within those body shops. This is on the heels of like West Coast Customs being huge and different things like that. So there's a lot of kind of excitement. And the Charger and that kind of platform of vehicles was still relatively new. And so that really whet my appetite. And I said, okay, like when I graduate, I'm going to go into the automotive space and be an entrepreneur. And so that was kind of the first step for me. I graduated University of Arizona, moved back to Seattle, and opened up my first automotive shop. Started off really doing kind of high-end car stereos. So in connecting and speaking with different people, I learned that, there is a white space in the market for really premium car stereos. And so I did that for a few years. And then my old academic advisor from Arizona called me randomly one day and said, hey, are you still doing car things? I said, yeah. And he said, I've since moved to Dubai and I want to build a full-on custom car. And so we ended up purchasing a 1965 Ford Mustang Fastback. We shipped it from Arizona to my shop in Seattle and did like a full-on restoration of that car. And that was kind of the start of transitioning from like high-end car stereos to comprehensive like restorations for vehicles. And so I did that for a few years. I actually brought on a few investors with the plan of creating some kind of one-off parts and then eventually selling those kind of more mass market via e-com. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. And
oh, wow.
I think I was about 26 at this point and sat down with my folks to try to figure out like, do I go through chemo and radiation and try to run the business, or do I just close the business and try to get healthy? And so ultimately decided to kind of close the business, focus on my health. And so that was the end of that chapter for me. And so, shortly after that, joined as a founding employee at a company called Rain Globes. We had built a pretty robust IP portfolio for essentially a snow globe that rains. So a very kind of Seattle gift idea.
Snow globe that rains. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a cool product. And so, we were selling a little bit in brick and mortar, a little bit on e-commerce. And so really, my role as the first kind of full-time person in the company was to scale it. So get it into as many doors as possible, figure out different ways to monetize the intellectual property that we had developed for that. And so we had 4 utility patents, one of which we had actually commercialized. And so talking to external companies about, hey, we've got this IP, would you like to license it? What does that look like? And so spent several years doing that, scaling that company.
Talk about monetizing mental capital. That's
Indeed.
right there. We have this idea that we happen to have turned into IP, and now you're going to buy it from us. I want to highlight one thing really quick.
Sure.
This all started at a stoplight. Like literally
stoplight,
this, well, and I guess you could go back farther to the BMX stuff, but like the pivot point of that stoplight and that individual who you met who driving a similar car, I think it's interesting how often our lives are affected by very simple connections like that. I go to a lot of trade shows, connect with a lot of people, and I think it really is about those simple connections. You find someone who you feel like you can become a friend with. There's more there. I mean, and that actually played out again in your future where that academic advisor reached back out to you, and probably because they had a relationship with you.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Maybe you call it the butterfly effect, or what like it can have huge kind of implications for your life. Fun fact. So that training business that I did, I met a guy online and trained him a little bit. I was probably living a little bit vicariously through his son. Like he really was hoping his son would be successful in athletics. Long story short, I trained him and I married his sister. And so now we've got almost a 10-month-old. And so, speaking to like happen chance in a small event kind of turning into something much larger.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think all of my success, all of my life has really been a function of that, of, just something happened to happen.
What's the mindset? If someone's not in the mindset and they're not finding those opportunities that are out there, what's the mindset shift they can take to stay in a mindset where they do end up finding opportunities like that? What's that look like?
So ultimately, I really believe that it's about respecting the process. like you hear this a lot in sports, right? Where in my junior year of high school, kind of early on, and when I was throwing, I'd done a ton of work in the winter. I transformed my body, and I wasn't getting the results, but I know I had done the work, right? And so it was still about, despite not seeing the results, still going on and doing the work again and again and again. I think that consistency is where you start to see dividends, but you have to accept that, like, it's not going to happen necessarily on your timeline or when you want it to happen. It will happen eventually, but you really have to just respect the grind and put in the work consistently. And you don't focus on the outputs, you focus on the inputs.
I really like that. Focus on the inputs, not the outputs. I like that. I really love, I mean, if you apply that specifically to this mode of meeting people and making sure that, your connections with people aren't superficial, like being genuine and respecting the process of being genuine. Just because you were super genuine with XYZ person and it didn't turn into a life-changing career event, be super genuine with the next person and the next person and the next person and the next person. And that genuine interest in other people can blossom into all of these cool, your wife, your career shifting around the car stuff, and then, all of the other pieces of your experiences in connecting those thoughts. So I think respecting the process in being genuine with other people on the regular every time, love that. That's a great takeaway.
I couldn't agree more. I think, really valuable people can sense when somebody's looking to get something from them, right? And so I do think it's about, like, kind of be the help that you want to receive, right? Make yourself available to people, be willing to support people, hear them out. If you can connect the dots for them, I'm a big believer that, you'll that can come back to you eventually, and you do it without wanting something specific. You make yourself available and you help people. And so I'm a big believer in that. And I think being genuine, right, is I think the most important thing you can do. I've spent a lot of work doing partnerships and strategic partnerships and business development. And it always goes back to building a real relationship, creating real value. And the foundation for that is having a genuine relationship with someone.
I love it. So that kind of propelled you forward. You were monetizing mental capital. Talk me through, let's say that I'm someone who has one of those brilliant ideas and I really want to turn it into IP. What does that process even look like? If I have an idea and I think a patent might be in order, that really is the epitome of monetizing mental capital to some degree or another, right? Is you've taken an idea, turned it into a patent, and now if somebody else wants to use that idea, they have to pay you.
Indeed.
So what's that look like?
Yeah. So for us, it was one of our co-founders, Josh, was in the airport, and SeaTac Airport here in Seattle. And he looked at a snow globe. He's like, why do we sell snow globes when it rains more than it snows in Seattle? So that was kind of the catalyst. And then one of our other co-founders was like, literally took a Pixie cup, put some straws in it, poked holes, and was like trying to figure out, like, how can we make this thing rain, kind of doing it on their own. And was on a flight and just happened to be next to a guy who designed IV drips. And so again, like thinking about like just putting in the work every single day, you never know who you're going to meet.
Genuine, right? Like if
exactly.
If he had started that conversation, like, just, oh, you're that guy. And like, it looked like it was going to be, whatever. The conversation probably never would have turned to, oh, what do you do? What do you do? Because it would have all been about taking, right?
Exactly. And people can also they can tell your energy, right? So if you're approachable, if you are open to talk, like if you've got your headphones on and your glasses on, like that conversation doesn't happen. And so had a conversation with him and he's like, oh yeah, we could easily figure that out. And so there's the kind of ideation into reality side of it. And there's also like, okay, is there existing IP on this? And so that's where, you pay a lawyer a lot of money, an IP attorney exactly to do a patent search. You can get a provisional patent out there. And then, you submit your application, and then ultimately there's a window where people can come in and say like, hey, this is infringing on my patent or different things like that. And so it's a pretty long, expensive process, but it all starts with that idea. And again, like speaking to just putting in the kind of the work and speaking to people, being genuine, building the relationships. And so that was it for us. And then, once we had the four kind of the initial utility patents issued, We looked at what is the simplest of these to commercialize. You need to get it out into the market. And so we started with that, but always kind of leverage the other IP to talk about, okay, this is like the next iteration of the product, right? So we had the first that we commercialized was a manual flow rain globe, which essentially, some water in it, you turn it over, the rain gets captured in the clouds, which is our patented disc, and then it would like have a realistic looking kind of rain effect. But we also had some IP on a continuous flow globe. So that would have a pump with essentially a straw, and instead of having to flip it over, it would run on its own. And we had
it would just
storm
rain
effects.
Continuously.
Exactly. And so tons of different applications. So we explored, how could you leverage this IP for an in-store product display, right? That you might see in Nordstrom, for example, to show how waterproof Gore-Tex is, or how waterproof a watch is, for example. So a ton of different potential applications.
So you went in, you started to monetize it. Let me ask you this. Let's say I've got an idea. Obviously, immediately hiring a patent attorney is not an option, because if you did that, that's all you would do and you wouldn't have any money, because all you would, the patent attorney would love you, but, you wouldn't love you. In that situation, how do I know, what, I might have something here that's worth looking up, or worth, like, what would be my first step? If I have an idea and I want to go see if that's the right way to monetize it, what do I do?
Yeah. So, there's a few different things you can do, right? So if let's say the idea, if it's a tangible product, you can typically go for a provisional patent, which is going to be much more affordable than the full-on kind of utility patent, right? And that gives you a window to go out and do a search. And it's been some time, so I'm a little bit out of practice as it relates to that. But the provisional patent can be done, and it's much more affordable. And the thing that's challenging with like actual physical IP is you can have the idea and you can share it with somebody. And if they go out and start to do their paperwork before you do, then they can have the patent and you don't, right? So there is an element of like, you probably need to be
conscientious of who you share it with.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you want to take that and consider. Now, let's say it's another type of idea you have that's not a physical product. I think I'm a big proponent of leveraging, whether it's mentors or friends that I have that I think are just smart people, and getting their opinion on things, right? Or like, I'll give you another kind of business that I worked on and I spun up briefly, was a company called Fix, Fixx. And essentially it was an application and a service to help you kind of automate automotive maintenance. And so as a kid growing up, when my mom would take me on all those BMX races, we didn't have a particularly nice car. And she always had a lot of challenges getting a really trustworthy mechanic. It was always, something was always wrong with the car. Somebody was always trying to rip her off. And so that was a really sensitive kind of pain point for her. And because I kind of became a car guy, all of my friends would come to me and ask questions about cars. And so I'm like, there needs to be an app that you can ask instead for this, and that could really kind of automate the car maintenance experience. And so when I had this initial idea, my first step was, does this already exist? And if it does exist, how well is it solving that pain point? And I have insight into the pain point from my mom and all my female friends that have reached out and asked questions and different things like that. And so I say that to say that I think speaking to people who either it's a problem for them or you're providing a solution for them goes a really long way as well. It's kind of validating that. And then you can justify, okay, I know that there's really a lot of people out there who need to see a rain globe. So let's take the next step in this journey.
Beautiful. I think one of the things I've done, I know a patent attorney, and he's pretty chill. One of the things I've done with him before is, sometimes I'll just run an idea past him and be like, is this even patentable?
Mm-hmm.
And because we've done business with him before and looked at different things, he'll be like, no, it's not, and I'm not charging you for that opinion. And so I think that there's a lot of value in creating relationships with people you can trust. And I think an abundance mindset is important too, because ideas are, in my opinion, not worth anything. It's all about execution, even with the patent. And so I think it's important to share it in the right places and dig in and kind of go there. Okay. So another shift in the podcast here. If you could call Korion from his first opportunity, he's designing the deck. Love the deck, by the way. That's just freaking awesome that's where it started. He's designing the deck that he's going to use to go out and get his friends excited about that. I hand you a cell phone, and that cell phone can actually ring Korion. while he's designing that deck. What would you tell him about his entrepreneurial journey that might help him up-level his ability to monetize his mental capital?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few things I would say. I think, one of the first things I would say is don't become a slave to the moment. And what I mean by that is I think creatives, entrepreneurs, people with ideas, it's very easy to get kind of shiny object syndrome. And I touched on this earlier. All the value is created when you're working through the mud, right? That's where you're learning and you're doing things that nobody else is willing to do. Like there's a book called The Dip that kind of talks about this a little bit, that, people are really excited about something new, let's say in the first 10 to 20% of the journey. And then it's like the novelty is worn off. They're not as excited about it. And 90% of people quit during the dip. But when you work through the dip and you come out on the other side, now you've got a wealth of knowledge, you have expertise, and that's where you can start to see kind of outsized gains or value created, whether it be monetarily or in other ways as well. And so I think I would say, like, don't be a slave to the moment. Don't have the kind of shiny object syndrome. I think that's really important. Like, if you've got something you're excited about that you have conviction on, do it and stick to it. Because I've had no shortage of business ideas, and I've had some traction, but like the consistency I think is super key and is super important.
Yeah. I think one thing I would say there that I have discovered in my journey, because I'm definitely the shiny object syndrome king. Like, I'm so good at being like, oh, that's shiny. Oh, no, we should go try that. I'm all over the place when it comes to that. My wife will be like, seriously, dude, finish something. So like that's totally me. And so I appreciate, I'm totally going to go look up The Dip. I think that's, I always need more reasons to like stick to my guns. One thing that I've discovered that's a very valuable resource in this perseverance part of the journey is to find someone who's really good at telling you that's a bad idea. In my experience, this someone is often less of a mentor and more of a peer, someone who could be a partner in a business. In traction, they call it visionary integrator, right? Where you got the idea guy and you got the guy who's like, no, I shoot down all the ideas and we only keep the good ones. I just got finished reading Patrick Lencioni's 6 Working Geniuses. And that book, it talks about the idea of the guy, you got the inventor, and he's all about picking apart, or invention is what they call it, but like new ideas, tons and tons of new ideas, really, really good on the spot with like kind of picking apart what's there. The next step is discernment. And discernment is deciding which of those ideas is the right one to fix the problem. And so I think identifying what is your working genius in this structural flow of building anything, and then inviting other people who are good at the parts you're not good at, that's been my hack. That's just been so much better in my life after I was willing to allow other people to be better at that second step in the journey of saying, yeah, that's not the right idea to work on.
I couldn't agree more with that. So, as I shared with you a little bit earlier, I'm in the process of spinning up a new brand. And, I'm somebody who's always been proud of my ability to learn and figure different things out. But as I spin this brand up, it's like, I can't do everything. You have to have help. You have to truly kind of leverage people and empower them to be successful. If you truly want this vision to become something, more than just a vision or just an idea. And so I couldn't agree more. And then also to your point of, having that peer who shoots things down. So I've got a good friend that has, a handful of really strong e-com brands. And he's pretty excited about getting out of physical products and getting into digital products. And he texts me daily with photos of, thousands of boxes going out to their destination and saying, don't do physical products. He's like, if I could have the best idea in the world, have all the IP for it, and be sure it's going to do $1 billion in revenue, he's going to say, don't do physical products. They just don't do them. And
physical products.
And so, yeah, I couldn't agree with that anymore. It's great to have those people.
Yeah, people you can bounce your ideas off of that way. Love that. All right. So as we kind of wrap up the podcast here, I have 2 questions for you. One, I'm going to ask you for any tips, tricks, hacks, or books that you've come across in the last year that have really allowed you to up-level your game in monetizing your mental capital. So put those in the back of your mind. We're gonna let your subconscious kind of search around for some of those things. while you answer my first question that I want you to answer, which is, I'm going to actually give you a scenario. We're going to pretend that an Amazon seller or an e-commerce seller steps into an elevator with you and they're like, yeah, kind of looking to exit, but I'm just not sure. And then you didn't know them before that, but you're in an elevator. You got 60 seconds. So I'm going to time you, and you got 60 seconds to, tell this guy what you guys do over there. And then after that, we're going to do the tips, tricks, hacks, or books.
Awesome.
Go.
Fantastic. So Unibrands is a strategic acquirer of Amazon and direct-to-consumer brands. We look to acquire brands that are doing a minimum of $5 million top-line revenue with about a 20% EBITDA margin. We acquire the brands, we integrate them into our platform, and then we scale the brand directionally, let's say 10 to 20% kind of year over year. For us, the kind of key differentiators or the key kind of priorities for brands that we're looking for is, one, the size, but more so than anything else, we're looking for really high quality differentiated brands. So a strong Amazon brand that can sell well in direct consumer, maybe via TikTok shop, and even be in retail at some point. So feel free to reach out with any questions.
Beautiful. Man, that was only like 40 seconds, man. All right. So what's the best way to get in touch, is assuming we've got some interested parties?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can use the contact form on the Unibrands website, unybrands.com, or you're welcome to email me as well. It's Korion, Korion, @unibrands.com.
Beautiful. And last but not least, tips, tricks, hacks, or books that you've come across in the last year. This is my selfish question. I love the answer to this question. Tips, trips, hacks, apps, or books you've come across in the last year that have helped you up-level your ability to monetize your mental capital.
So this is going to be maybe kind of outside of the traditional bounds, but I think one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten a little bit older is like how important your physical, your mental, your spiritual, kind of all of these different elements of who we are, how important it is for those to be in alignment. With the birth of my first son, like I started to spend a lot of time really trying to better understand myself, who I am, why I do what I do, what my motivations are, just to ensure that I was like oriented correctly before he came. And so I read a book about meditation by a gentleman, I believe, Dan Harris, called 10% Happier. I read that book last year, and that was really a catalyst for me to start to explore meditation, stoicism, different things like that a little bit more. And for me, like finding that balance, and because for me, like I'm willing to work hard, I'm willing to immerse myself in the business, but it's about like balancing the other side of the equation. And by doing that, I'm better in all kind of aspects of life. And so would strongly recommend 10% Happier by Dan Harris. Essentially, his thought is like, if you go to people and say, hey, are you interested in meditating? Most people are going to say no. But if you say, hey, are you interested in being 10% happier? Most people would say, sure, like that's interesting. And the key takeaway from that book for me was the value of meditation is it teaches you to respond and not react. And I think that's super important. Like, again, when you're in the grind, things aren't going how you want. It's easy to want to react kind of in the moment. And so the ability to build that mental muscle to take a step back, respond, you don't react, and then you get back to work is truly invaluable with business.
Man, I think the title of this episode is going to be Respect the Process. I mean, or I think that maybe it should be Korion's tagline, Respect the Process.
There we go.
I'm really impressed. Great nugget there. And I agree, totally outside the bounds of usually what we hear people talk about, which I love that too. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.